Hello. Today I will be talking about Karabakh. Karabakh is the location of Karabakh is in Caucasus region, is in Azerbaijan, and in my first and second video I talked about the history of Karabakh, and this is part three, and I will be talking about more information about Karabakh, the cities, the conflict. The history of the conflict and more information about Karabakh. So I would like to start the city in Karabakh. This picture is the city named Agdam. Agdam, before 1994, it was a very beautiful city. More than 60,000 people used to live in this city. It was the cultural center of Karabakh, but unfortunately, when the war started in 1991 and it ended 1994, during these years, in 3 years, unfortunately, the city was 100% destroyed. As you can see, the city has only remnants of the buildings, and nobody lives in this region since 1994. More than 95% of the population was Azeri people. They used to live here, and during the war they ran away or they were killed by Armenian. Armenia, after 1994, they didn't build the city. This was a border area uh, between Azerbaijan and Armenia. They didn't build any cities, buildings, anything. The only thing they did, unfortunately, they mined more than 1 million mines, still is in this region. Every day we hear many innocent people die because of this mining. In these pictures you can see around 1900 Azeri business people together in Yerevan. In 1897, most of the people, I can say, was Azeri people here. According to the population, 42.6% of the population of Yerevan was Azeri population. 43% of the people, they were Armenians. They used to live together. They didn't have much big conflict, but unfortunately in 1900s, early 1900s, when the region was controlled by Soviet Union, slowly the conflict started. For more than 600 years, Armenians and Azeri population and Turkish population, they used to live peacefully. But unfortunately, when the Soviet Union wanted to control these areas, wanted to build their empire, the conflict started. This is the location of Karabakh. In Russian is Nagorno-Karabakh. In Azeri language is Karabakh. Karabakh means black garden. Nagorno means mountainous. Mountainous, black garden. That's the translation of the region. As you see, many Azeri people used to live in Yerevan in early 1900s. In 1940s, 1950s, 100,000 Azeri people, they moved from Armenia to Azerbaijan. In 1980s, more than 200,000 Azeri people, they were expelled from Armenia. And finally, the brown area, as you can see, more than 700,000 Azeris, they were expelled from Karabakh. And this is the brown area, is Karabakh. They were expelled from there, and they moved to, most of them, they moved to Baku. On the right side of the slide, you can see the people are trying to clean mines. Every area of this region, you can see a lot of mines. So another map, this area after 1994, as you can see, Agdam. Agdam is the city of Azerbaijan, but it was controlled by Armenia more than 30 years. If you remember the first picture I showed, it is from this city. This area, Kelbecer, Lachin, Kubadlı, Zengilan, Cebrail, Fuzuli, these were the all Azeri populated areas. Hocalı, also Hojavend, Shusha, Hadrut, many Azeri people, they used to live there. But currently, the red areas are 100% of the population are Armenians. Azeri people, they cannot enter these regions. There are Russian peacekeepers are here. They are controlling the peace. It's hard because internationally recognized territory of Karabakh is under Azerbaijan territory. So Lachin, as you can see, is a very important corridor between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Many Armenians, they used to use this road because this is the only connection from Armenia to Karabakh. But now there is a border, Azeri border. If any Armenians they want to pass, they have to cross the Azeri border. Why they built this border? Because after 2020 war, many Armenians they sent arms, guns to Karabakh because Karabakh is getting ready to fight back to Azerbaijan because they want to gain their territory again. During First Karabakh War, of course, I mentioned about more than 700,000 Azeri people moved from Karabakh to Azerbaijan. But during this process, especially in 1992, the war was intense. Many people were killed, especially children and females. And Hocalı is a city in the center of Karabakh. Most of the people were Azeri people in this region. The population of Hocalı was 7,000 in 1992. But unfortunately, when the war started, many people ran away. And this was one of the bloodiest and most controversial incidents of the war between Armenia and Azerbaijan. First, Armenia controlled all the roads going to Hocalı. Then they cut connection with, because there used to be a airport. They controlled the airport, all the roads. They cut the connection between Azerbaijan and Hocalı. And only 613 people left, and the other people ran away. And those peoples, unfortunately, they were killed by Armenians, including little children, women, and males. Armenian forces took over the town of Hocalı in Karabakh on February 26, after battering it with heavy artillery and tanks, and assisted by an infantry regiment, by planes, by helicopters, and the whole population was killed by Armenians. So I would like to show more information about Hocalı genocide. This short video will give you more information about the conflict.
The almond is the very first tree to flower. It blossoms in the midst of winter, generally in February, and is therefore seen by many to herald the arrival of spring. Spring is known throughout the world as the time of revival and resurrection. The almond therefore represents hope for restoration of a new life after the cold winter. It was late February 1992, just as the almond trees had scattered their blossoms throughout the small town of Khojaly, that it played witness to the snow turning an unnatural color of red. Relentless persecution and mass killing of Jews, both in Germany and in countries occupied by the Nazis, is considered to be one of the terrifying chapters in world history. The tragedy, resulting in the genocide of 6 million Jews, is well known by a word which sounds similar in all languages: Holocaust. On the 10th of June, 1944, 642 inhabitants of the village of Oradour-sur-Glane, France, were brutally murdered. In 1994, in 100 days, one country became a massive graveyard for almost 1 million people. The name of the small country located in Central Africa is Rwanda. On the 11th of July, 1995, in one of the not well-known towns of Europe, more than 8,000 men and boys were massacred. Now we all know the name of this town: Srebrenica. Over the night of 25th and 26th of February 1992, 613 people, including 106 women and 63 children, were killed with an unseen cruelty and unimaginable savagery in one town of Azerbaijan. The name of that town is Khojaly. The similarity of all the above-mentioned events is that victims were targeted only because they belonged to a certain ethnic group or nation, as Jews in Europe, French in Oradour, Tutsis in Rwanda, Bosnians in Srebrenica, and Azerbaijanis in Khojaly. Before the Khojaly tragedy, when the Soviet Union was on the verge of collapse, Armenian terrorist organizations systematically and methodically perpetrated bloody atrocities and countless acts of terrorism against civilian population of Azerbaijan. After the signing of the Gulistan and Turkmenchai treaties in 1813 and 1828 respectively, there was a very rapid mass resettlement of Armenians to Azerbaijani lands and a subsequent artificial division of territory. Although the Armenian incomers constituted a small minority in the region, they soon pursued a policy of political expansion and devised aggressive plans for its implementation. In the 1920s, although the mountainous part of Karabakh was retained within Azerbaijan, it was nevertheless given the status of autonomy, with its administrative borders defined in such a way as to ensure that the Armenian population constituted a majority. Thus, an artificial entity was created within Azerbaijan, while more than 500,000 Azerbaijanis living compactly in Armenia at the time were refused the same privilege. Having breached international norms and principles and still effective Soviet laws, in early 1988, Armenia started aggressive actions against Azerbaijan to implement the long-standing plan to unilaterally secede this administrative territory and annex it to Armenia. In late 1991 and early 1992, armed hostilities and Armenian attacks on Azerbaijan intensified. Khojaly, a town in the Nagorno-Karabakh region with a total area of 0.94 square kilometers and a population before the conflict of 7,000, mostly Azerbaijanis, became the target of one of these operations. Having the only civil airport in the area, Khojaly was an important center of communications. From October 1991, the town was entirely surrounded by Armenian forces. On the 30th of October, the ground traffic was cut off and helicopter became the only means of transportation. When a civilian helicopter was brought down over Shusha city, killing 40 people, helicopter traffic also ceased. From January 1992, the town had no electricity. Khojaly lived on due to the courage of people and the heroism of its defenders. By occupying Khojaly, the Armenian forces aimed to gain strategic advantage and favorable conditions for capturing other Azerbaijani inhabited cities of the Nagorno-Karabakh region. They also aimed at wiping Khojaly off the face of the earth. since traces of history in Khojaly and surrounding areas represented historical evidence refuting Armenian territorial claims. The idea behind the Armenian brutality was to break the spirit of Azerbaijanis to gain psychological advantage in subsequent military operations. Over the night of 25th to 26th February 1992, following a massive artillery bombardment, Armenian armed forces and paramilitary units, with the support of the former Soviet Union's 366th Motorized Infantry Regiment, moved in to seize the town. Those launching the assault knew very well about the absence of serious military equipment and fortifications in Khojaly. Despite that, the town had been encircled and shelled with heavy artillery. Once the assault began, around 2,500 remaining inhabitants tried to leave with the hope to reach the nearest area under Azerbaijani's control, but they hoped in vain. Armenia had spread rumors that allegedly a humanitarian corridor was left open for peaceful population to leave the town. However, soon it turned out that the claimed corridor was nothing but an ominous trap. The fleeing people were either killed by gunfire from Armenian military posts or captured near the villages of Nakhchivanli and Pirjamal. Others, mainly women and children, died from frostbite while wandering in the mountains. Only a few were able to reach Agdam. Undoubtedly, what happened in Khojaly was the largest massacre of the conflict. In all, the assault and capture of the town took the lives of 613 of its people, including 106 women, 63 children, and 70 elderly. 1,275 were taken hostage, while the fate of 150 people remains unknown. The town was razed to the ground. In the course of that tragic night, 487 inhabitants of Khojaly were wounded, including 76 children. 8 families were completely wiped out. 130 children lost one parent, and 26 children lost both. Of those who perished, 56 were killed with particular cruelty. They were variously burned alive, beheaded, or had eyes gouged out. Pregnant women were bayoneted in the abdomen. One of the ideologists of the Khojaly genocide, Serge Sargsyan, who afterwards became president of the Republic of Armenia, made a blunt confession in his interview to British journalist Thomas Deval. Before Khojaly, the Azerbaijanis thought that they were joking with us. They thought that the Armenians were people who could not raise their hand against the civilian population. We were able to break that. Undeniably, this was an unprecedented example for breaking a stereotype from all wars that the history of mankind has ever witnessed. Unfortunately, the genocide in Azerbaijani town of Khojaly was not an isolated and standalone act. In fact, the level of brutality and the atrocities committed in Khojaly set a pattern of destruction that Armenian troops adhered to for the rest of the conflict. The official investigation conducted in Azerbaijan has found the inherent elements to qualify the acts committed in Khojaly as the crime of genocide, as defined under international law, including in particular the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. These actions against the peaceful population also flagrantly violate norms and principles of international humanitarian and human rights law, including the Geneva Conventions of 1949 and their additional protocols, and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Over the past few years, the international community has made significant strides towards recognition of the genocide in Khojaly. So far, the legislative bodies of Bosnia and Herzegovina, Colombia, the Czech Republic, Honduras, Jordan, Mexico, Pakistan, Panama, Peru, Romania, and Sudan, as well as from more than 10 states in the United States of America, have adopted parliamentary resolutions on recognition of the Khojaly genocide. More than 2 decades after the Khojaly genocide, our grief and our outrage over the atrocities committed has not diminished. Our hearts are broken, but our spirits are not. We took our lessons from history and chose the path of development. Despite being involved in this conflict, Azerbaijan has undergone a period of rapid socio-economic development in recent years. Today, Azerbaijan has proved itself as a reliable international partner and regional leader. Major regional and cross-regional projects initiated by Azerbaijan have not only boosted our own economic growth, but have also contributed to the development of our region. We are a proud nation with ancient history and traditions, a country which has always been a place of tolerance and safe haven for different ethnic groups and national minorities. We believe that our shared values of humanity, can only be preserved by our joint efforts. We also believe that one day justice will triumph and the occupied territories of Azerbaijan will be freed, so that the millions of IDPs and refugees will get the chance to return to their historical homes. We must keep alive the memory of those victims who lost their lives, and those victims who have been deeply affected psychologically and physically. We remember the Khojaly genocide for today and for the future of the mankind. We recall the Khojaly genocide so that no crime against humanity should be committed ever again. We are not seeking revenge. We demand justice. Justice for Khojaly.
Thank you for watching my channel. Next video will be about Bosnia. If you have any questions, please you can put your questions and I'll try to answer those questions in my next video.